It's all quiet in the underground bunker. Doors closed, locks bolted. But the Great One isn't just resting on his laurels. He's making sure your weekend is even better by giving you his best. This is the best of Mark Levin.
Here's Zohran Mamdani at a rally yesterday. Cut to go.
The world is changing. It's not a question of whether that change will come. It's a question of who will change it. We have an opportunity before us that few have ever received and even fewer have seized. It's the opportunity to show the world.
Whoa. Few have ever received and few have ceased, Mr. Producer? Okay, go ahead.
Yep. It is the opportunity to live up to the legacy left by those who came before.
Like who? Obviously not Abraham Lincoln. Who? Which founder do they honor? Which one? I'm just curious. What legacy is it that he's talking about? His father hates America. He hates America. And his mother hates America. They're Qatari lords. They hate America, truth be told. So the question is, and it's an important question, who is it? What legacy left by whom? Go ahead.
We do not get to determine the scale of a crisis. Our choice is how we respond.
I don't know what that means either. We do not get to determine the scale of a crisis, of course. Human beings can create crises, and often do. So, he's not even that articulate. He's a moron. Go ahead.
Let us win a city hall that works for those straining to buy groceries, not those straining to buy our democracy.
Oh, isn't that clever? Oh. You mean like the Qataris? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This guy, his family, multimillionaires. He married a woman whose family, multimillionaires. They're talking about buying our democracy. He has spent a fortune in this campaign. Tons of outside money. Go ahead.
And let us look forward to January 1st, when the hard work of governing will begin. Those in power would like to describe our policy commitments as if they are illusions that will evaporate as soon as we approach City Hall.
Okay, the guy says nothing about his policies. I mean, he throws out these slogans. He throws out generalizations about affordability, the poor, buying democracy, so forth and so on. There's no dirt under his nails. There's no tissue between his ears. There's nothing. It's preposterous. But let me tell you where he's really coming from. He hangs out with the most radical, poisonous Islamists who do promote terrorism. What's the intifada? That's terrorism. His father and the propaganda that he spews. There's a Muslim YouTuber named Shohail, and he was in Times Square this month, and Times Square was loaded with people, loaded with Muslims. How do I know? They're dressed as Muslims. I want you to listen to this. Cut 6, go.
We're done hiding. We're done. We're done being tortured and hurt and judged. This is the correct religion. This is the religion that all of humanity needs to be a part of, Islam. And we will not stop until it enters every home. So I want you to repeat after me. I want to hear it in every single district. It should tremble. Brooklyn should hear it. The Bronx should hear it. Queens should hear it. Say it as if the Ummah depends on this, my brothers and sisters. La ilaha illallah. Muhammadan Rasulullah. There is no God worthy of worship except Allah, the God of Jesus, the God of Moses, the God of Abraham, and the God of the last and final prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Now, do you hear any other faith leader, Christianity or Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, whatever ism in this country, talk like this? Do you? It's one thing to promote your faith, to say it's the right faith, and so that's not what he's saying. He's saying we're going to impose it. It needs to be in every household. They're done hiding and being tortured. Where, in America? Who's hiding and being tortured in America? This is the religion that all humanity needs to be part of. Now, you may be of a faith that believes that, and that's fine, and you do it by persuasion. You don't say that you are going to impose it and put it in every household. And I'm telling you, this is the mentality. This is why the money is pouring into this country. Not because these other countries want to be our friends. Not because these other countries need to be invested in our businesses. They're government-centric. They're media-centric. They're education-centric. It's now pouring into our K through 12 schools through radical unions, the NEA and the AFT. The unions themselves also hate the country. I said this fusion between Marxism and Islam, and now you know. I've been talking about this for years, and the word has spread. Everybody's now talking about it on radio and TV, the fusion of Marxism and Islamism. Because that's exactly what's occurring. That's why I wrote American Marxism. And what Mahmoud Mamdani said earlier when I played his clip, the father of Zohran, is not a one-off. He's a chorus line of faculty, of phony scholars who push this agenda. The inspiration for Nazism is America. The inspiration for Hitler is Abraham Lincoln. Got it? And it's going to get worse before it gets better. They'll have children and grandchildren who will be indoctrinated. We're going to have others who go through our college systems who are being indoctrinated. Now it's K through 12, where these school boards are being taken over by the same Marxist Islamists, where they're going to be indoctrinated. It's happening all over the country. And again, as I said before the break, if I hear one more damn Republican say this is okay because this means they're going to lose elections all over the country, no, it does not. You stop the poison where it starts from. It's like water. It finds a crack. What happens is you're dumbing down the American people to accepting this, to acquiescing to it. How many politicians do you hear speaking out like me? I'm serious. Very few. Very few. On the Democrat side, none. None. Hakeem Jeffries just endorsed this guy. The Democrat Party lacks strong statesmen and leaders. He just endorsed this guy. AOC's at the rally. She is the brain of a slug and the experience of nobody. No experience. Right, Sandy? Call me Sandy, she said when she went to school in Westchester. All these revolutions are started by people with money. Money. The Mamdanis, money. AOC, Westchester. Not that you all have to have money in Westchester, but they did. Right, Sandy? Castro, money. Mao, money. Lenin, money. Marx, money. Qatar, trillions. Saudi Arabia, trillions. Oh, yes. AOC at the rally for Mamdani yesterday. Cut 3, please. Go.
We are not the crazy ones, New York City.
No, yes, you are. Crazy like bat crap. Go ahead.
We are not the outlandish ones, New York City. They want us to think we are crazy. We are sane.
Isn't this a weird speech, Mr. Producer? I mean, you get up and say, we're not the crazy ones. We're not the crazy ones. We're the sane ones. Go ahead.
To demand an affordable and decent housing. I
have an idea. You want affordable and decent housing? Get off your fat ass and earn a living. That's how you get affordable and decent housing. No offense. It's called working for a living. My problem is that part of the new generation, or the younger generation, certainly not conservatives, they understand, but so many of others, they think their birth is a birthright to not having to work hard for something. Many of you are listening to me, truckers, blue-collar workers, cops, firefighters. Many of you, electricians and plumbers. Yes, teachers. Good teachers, not the other ones. Bricklayers, construction workers. I can go on and on and on. You get up in the morning, you go to work, you do your job. You may not even love it. You come home. That's how you get a house. That's how you put food on the table. If you expect the government to create it, that means those same people, you, Mr. and Mrs. America I'm talking about, you're not only taking care of yourself, your own family, your own home, your own car, you're doing it for the freeloaders. The people on the dole who say you, Mr. and Mrs. America, some reason you owe them, that they don't have to work for it. And then you're trashed as bigots. After your city's attacked, you're trashed as bigots. And they want to take your home away from you. Everybody's going to get free public transportation, which means no maintenance, no cleanliness, homeless, drug addicts, crime. At the same time, the cops are handcuffed rather than the criminals, so nobody will be there to respond. And then you'll have your Soros prosecutors who only prosecute those who defend the innocent, not those who are perpetrators. I'm telling you. They're going to get the system. We are the system. Capitalism is the system. We're the system. New York City works because you work. More people are going to come to New York City who are illegal aliens for freebies. More homeless are going to leave and come to New York City for freebies. More drug addicts are going to come because the drug laws won't be enforced. Prostitution's going to run rampant, meaning women are going to be abused and sold into sex slavery because this jackass believes in legalizing prostitution. In other words, the third world. But not even the good aspects of the third world. The underbelly of the third world. Because don't you know we deserve it? We're colonialists and imperialists. The vast majority of you to whom I am speaking come from families that immigrated legally to the United States. They were required, your ancestors, to demonstrate their loyalty to the United States. They were required to demonstrate that they wouldn't be on welfare, that they would work in the United States. They were required to learn the language and know the language and embrace the country. That's not what's happening today. is it? Quite the opposite. We don't need lectures from these punks who've created nothing, who've done nothing about hard work. We don't need lectures from them about free groceries. We don't want free groceries. We want to be able to pay for our groceries. We don't want free transportation. We want a clean, healthy, secure transportation system. You don't get that for free. We don't want some 34-year-old now punk, an Islamist, Marxist, ruining everything that's been built over hundreds of years in New York City. One generation after another, one ethnic group after another, and now it really is a melting pot to have some guy come along and light a match.
Mark Levin. Making your weekend even better. This is the best of Mark Levin.
I think my contribution to talk radio, in addition to being supportive of Rush and Sean, and Bob Grant for that matter, is several-fold. Number one, I've decided to use this format to delve deeply into American history and the Constitution. This format has never been used for that before I came to talk radio about a quarter century ago. And worked closely with Rush and Sean on both of those. Number two, when I got into syndicated radio, my first radio station was WABC in New York. But when I got into syndicated radio, the ABC Radio News Network wanted to syndicate me at the time. Even conservative hosts never got involved in Republican primaries. They had different theories for that. I gave him my background. There wasn't a Republican primary that I ever ignored, because that's where the rubber hits the road. I began getting involved in Republican primaries. I began getting involved in taking on the Republican establishment, particularly in Washington, D.C. There were a few pieces written, including a National Review. What does he mean by establishment, this Levin? I knew what I meant by establishment. Since the age of 13, I've been fighting this establishment. I'm trying to advance constitutional, conservative government and culture. We've come a long way since then, haven't we? So many of you embrace it and support it, and I'm thankful for that. And the whole constitutional conservative movement, which has always been at the center of what I've done, is including as Chief of Staff to Attorney General Meese, who really pushed the whole notion of originalism, has been key to what we do here, among other things. So we changed conservative talk radio in that sense. Less slapstick, less happy-go-lucky, although that's fun too, don't get me wrong. Much more serious, these substantive issues, and I'm not putting down anybody. Everybody's contributed to this who's in this, well, almost, in this format. The left could not compete with us. In the early 2000s, it really took off more in like 2005, 2006, that area. Podcasting came to be without getting into the whole technological history of that. And that meant basically anybody could get on, quote-unquote, on air. Anybody. From any room in their house. Before there were even video feeds and so forth. So you got this podcasting. Podcasting relies on what, Mr. Producer? The internet. It relies on the internet. It relies on handheld devices. This program is podcast. Not new podcast information. The program I do is podcast because people like to have their devices and listen on their own. That's fine. My attitude is let's push it out on all platforms humanly possible. Now we get to the nub of the matter. You have people who are podcasting, who have big companies behind them, big foreign money behind them, big domestic money behind them, some of it dark money, who are not so much broadcasting, they're podcasting, a word that was developed in the early 2000s. iPods, iTunes, they came up with podcasting. Not all, but most of these people haven't contributed a thing to this country. Nothing. You look at Tucker Carlson. What has he done for the country? He's written for magazines. He's been on TV. He's been on radio. Now he's a podcaster. That's big money. I told you before, I didn't really come into money until I did broadcasting. Candace Owens. Podcasting. What has she done for the country? Absolutely nothing. Zero. Nick Fuentes, 27, 28-year-old punk, a racist, a neo-Nazi. What has he done for the country? Absolutely nothing. Zero. Then we have their surrogates who are with them. And after the first of the year, I'm going to start mentioning them too, who've made an enormous amount of money off these platforms. Some of them are disgruntled former employees at Fox, disgruntled former employees at one of the network TV, whatever they are. Some of them were doing morning radio. What have they done for the country? What movements have they been involved in a significant way? I don't mean ride the coattails and grift off them. Nothing. Nothing. That's okay. But when you have a microphone, whether it's a podcast or whether it's radio, whether it's satellite, whether it's television, you have a responsibility to contribute something to the country, at least integrity and honesty, and not just grift. You also have a responsibility to your fellow countrymen. So if you see some poison that is spreading, some cancer that is metastasizing, that's going to damage our country, damage our culture, damage our society, politically, damage our party, and destroy everything that's been built. You have an obligation not to acquiesce to it as a coward, certainly not to join in with it, make excuses for it, but to confront it. Whether it's on the left or the right. You have an obligation, a moral obligation, to do just that. No, it's not a waste of time, your time or my time, when I do it. It's crucial to who we are as a society. It's very crucial. You've got guys like Bannon. The guy pled guilty to a felony, ripping off little old ladies, raising money for a wall that was never built. He's telling us Trump's going to run for a third term. Well, there is the thing called the Constitution. Nobody gets to run for a third term. Nobody. And he won't. Bannon's playing you. Jews are under attack by these people because anybody can get behind a microphone. And it just turns out the Jew haters are very much attracted to the microphone like flies to you-know-what. But now Christians are under attack by these people. You, Mr. and Mrs. America, Jew or Christian, the Judeo-Christian value system that created this marvelous wonder called the United States of America. You're now under attack by some of these people who you've been following, who you've been paying money to, who you defend, whose comments you repeat. Why am I the only one talking out about it? Oh, I don't mean posting something on the internet. I know you are my audience. You want the truth. You work hard. Those of you who retire have worked hard. We know about the Marxist Islamists, the communists. We see it. We know about it. I talk about it every day. But there's another cancer growing within. And it's our responsibility because they're waving around our flag. They claim to speak for you. Neo-Nazis. Anti-American. Anti-military. Or one or more of the above. It is shameful that people with big audiences say nothing. But I know why they don't. Because when you do speak out, you come under vicious attack. Not just by them, but by the liberal media who promotes the Tuckers and the Fuenteses and the Bannons and the Owens day in and day out. They promote the anti-Semites and the bigots and the isolationists and the hate America crowd. They want them to define you and me and our party and our movement. They paint a picture of America that is dark. They paint a picture of America that is racist and bigoted and anti-Semite. They paint a picture of America that rejects the majority faith in this country, Christianity now. I'll get to it, trust me. They lie, they twist, they spew, and they know that at least for now, the more they do that, the more they attract and the more money they make and the more attention they get. And that's what they have to have if they're podcasters or if they're subscription-based services or whatever they are. They need it. They don't need 90% of the country. They need 2% of the country. That's good enough. Good enough. 5%. Good enough. So they get more extreme and radical and crazy by the day. And that media I spoke about promotes them more and more by the day. That media, the left media, knows they're liars, knows who they are, hates their guts, but uses them to try and dumb down the country and try and convince the country that this is you and me. When it's not you and me.
Mark Levin. You're listening to the best of Mark Levin.
By the way, that World Series is one of the best World Series I have ever seen. Ever. But that's neither here nor there, is it, America? You know, I've been talking to you a lot about this fusion of Marxism and Islamism. Well, there is a piece at Fox News by Zohran Mamdani. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's exactly what I've said. They prove it right down to the last nickel. Ever hear of Linda Sarsour? Remember the Women's March 2017? She's a Palestinian American. She is a true Jew hater. She is a Marxist. She is a grave threat She preaches violence, in my humble opinion. And she's right in the middle of this. Do you know, Mr. Producer, you know, Mr. and Mrs. America, she's the one who mentored Zohran Mamdani. Did you folks know this? They kept it a secret a long time. A long time. For 10 years, they've been grooming this guy. 10 years. There was Soros money involved. There's a lot involved. And as this report points out, a database of 110 groups backing Mamdani, 110 of these groups backing Mamdani, exposes a tighter inner circle of organizations that identify as Muslim or socialist, a.k.a. Islamists or Marxists, working hand in glove with 76 Democrat Party affiliates. Remember, I've been saying this isn't an issue of the base. This is the new Democrat Party. Allied groups and unions. Particularly important in this political machine are two networks. Sansor's Empower organizations, Empower, Muslim Power, Empower organizations, and another constellation of groups called M-Gage, E-M-Gage. She controls both. She works closely with the latter. She runs the former. And these organizations have been generously funded. In total, billionaire George Soros has opened society philanthropies. Have given them millions, according to tax filings. Millions. What do you think of that, Mr. Producer? Altogether, they have annual revenues, of about $24 million. And they have worked to promote Mamdani's campaign with endorsements, fundraising, social media campaigns, and canvassing. The result, a carefully constructed political career that mainstreams the socialist goals, a.k.a. Marxist-Islamist goals, long embraced by Sarsour and fellow members of the Democratic Socialists of America. This is basically a communist Islamist operation. Now, for the rest of you who are not in New York, and I've been warning about these Republicans who say, well, you know, let them win New York, and then we'll win everything else. It's a machine that is expressing itself in races from New York to Virginia, Minnesota, Texas, California, and more, with Empower and M-Gage aligning with the Democratic Socialists of America and the Democratic Party to propel candidates who may share their views. In a campaign called Defend and Advance, M-Gage Super PAC is pushing Mamdani, and here's the one in the shadows that no one's paying attention to that drive me crazy here in Virginia. And Democratic Virginia Lieutenant Governor candidate Ghazala Hashmi as its star candidates. Ghazala Hashmi is an Islamist, a Marxist Islamist, in my humble opinion, running for lieutenant governor as a Democrat. Now, you know what that means? A governor serves one term. That means if she wins the lieutenant governor position, she's one step away from being governor of Virginia, Mr. Producer, our first Marxist Islamist governor in the entire country. Now, that's how I view her. That's my opinion. But apparently it's the opinion of the Democratic Socialists of America, because she's a priority. And she's on the undercard in Virginia, so people aren't paying attention. They pay attention to the governor's race, which is very important. Sears should win. They pay attention to the attorney general race. The Democrats a head case. But the lieutenant governor, this is how this group works. This is how this ideology works. Slip her in as lieutenant governor, this Ghazala Hashmi. And then she's one breath away from governor, the first Marxist Islamist governor in the United States. You think I'm kidding about this stuff? Look at all the time I spend spelling it out, explaining it, proving it, showing you the substance of these things. M-Gage's defend and advance roster of supported candidates and office holders includes Dearborn, Michigan Mayor Abdullah Hammoud. Remember this guy from Dearbornistan? Remember how radical he is? Quote, I want you to know as mayor, you're not welcome here. Remember that one? He recently told a Christian pastor who objected to a proposal to name a street in honor of a local man who had allegedly praised terrorist groups Hamas and Hezbollah. The mayor said, and the day you move out of the city will be the day that I launch a parade celebrating the fact that you moved out of the city because you are not somebody who believes in coexistence. I didn't think Hamas and Hezbollah did either. And yet, a few days ago, 40,000 individuals who think like this mayor, who are extremists like this mayor, celebrated in the streets. In the streets. This Mamdani is among the worst of the worst. He's backed by the worst of the worst. He hangs out with the worst imams. He defends Hamas. Now he's kind of backtracking because he wants to win the election, but he said what he said. His mother is funded in part by Qatar. Qatar has posted on social media and is backing Mamdani. I don't care who considers Qatar a best friend. They're not my best friend, as far as I'm concerned. Not because, for a zillion reasons, including 9/11. Including 9/11. And what did this clown get out of 9/11? J.D. Vance was right. His auntie was afraid to go on the subway because she might get weird looks because of her hijab. But his auntie was in Tanzania and never was in the United States. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant my father's first cousin. You're a liar and a fraud, a phony victim. Say Islamophobia anytime you're attacked. Pretend you're defending the Muslim faith when we have moderate Muslims coming out and saying they don't like this guy. Like Zuhdi Jasser, who will be on my show Saturday. Boy, I have a hell of a show Saturday. In addition to my opening statement, where I'm going to really let this guy have it. It was Zuhdi Jasser, who's Muslim, who despises these radicals. We have our buddy Ben Shapiro as our second guest. Fantastic. Fantastic show Saturday. Life, Liberty, and Levin. I hope you'll set your DVR. I hope you'll watch it live. Sunday for the full hour, we're going to have Douglas Murray. He's never done a full hour, but he's brilliant. He's a scholar, incredibly articulate. And again, I said I want to highlight some people who are particularly wise, particularly important. So some shows will do two guests who are also wise and important. Some shows will do one guest. Some people who I have on the two-guest show will at some point be on the one-guest show. But in any event, I want to expose you as much as I can to these people. So we're not just doing a conga line of broadcasting. I don't like it myself. I don't watch it myself. So Mamdani isn't the Manchurian candidate. He's the Islamist candidate. He was groomed for this for 10 years. For 10 years, he was groomed for this. And now here he is. On the Marxist side, he keeps talking about the Vienna housing system. In Vienna, Austria. And 60% of the people there live in government-subsidized houses. And he keeps pointing to that as an example. It wouldn't take much for a media outlet to spend a little bit of time, other than Fox and other than me, to take a look at that housing system. The rents are going sky high. There's literally no maintenance. The buildings are falling apart because that's what happens when the government runs things. That's his idea. Oh, and his tax plan. He wants to lower taxes in communities that are majority brown and black, and he wants to raise taxes in communities that are majority white. So he wants a tax system based on racism. Oh, and of course the cops. We all know you NYPD, you really work for the Jews. You really work for the IDF. Something I would think Fuentes and Tucker would be saying. No, Mr. Producer? And this is what I mean by the joining of the mentally ill, the unhinged, with the Fuentes types, the Carlson types, the Bannon types, with the Mamdani types, the Linda Sarsour types. In the end, they wind up in the same place, don't they? Hating their fellow countrymen, hating their own country, and trying to turn one against the other. And for all you evangelical Christians out there and other Christians, just remember, the Bible doesn't mean what it says. God's Word doesn't mean what it says. No. If you're a Christian, and you believe in the Holy Land, and you believe that the Holy Land should be protected, then you have a mental disease, according to Tucker Carlson. And his little Adolf nodding his head up and down. How sick are these bastards? We have a Judeo-Christian-based country, and they attack the Jews and the Christians. And then they want you to believe they're MAGA and America first. They are sleazeballs. They are grifters. They are punks. Same with those on the left. To their credit, some people are starting to pick up on what I was discussing here last week and over the weekend on Fox. The reason the Democrats have done what they've done to the government and the budget is because of Obamacare. Obamacare is imploding. It was an unworkable system from day one. Every single Democrat voted for it. Every single Republican voted against it. Notice they don't even call it Obamacare. They call it the Affordable Care Act. Why? Because they're in the lying business. They're in the manipulation business. So the Affordable Care Act is not affordable. Obamacare is a dud. And come, I guess, early next week, many of you on Obamacare are going to find out what your premiums are, and they're going to be through the roof. They're going to be through the roof, number one, because Obamacare is unaffordable. Number two, because Congress had voted to massively expand the Unaffordable Obamacare Act a few years back during the pandemic by increasing the benefits and then expanding the people who can apply for it. Well, that's how you kill a program right there. That drove up the costs for Medicare, drove up the costs for Medicaid, drove up the costs for private health care plans. Because when you have a big program with multi-millions of people on it, and you screw around with the market system like this Mamdani, that idiot, or Bernie Sanders, that idiot, they blow up the private health care system, and then they say, we need more government, we need to centralize it, because big insurance, and big pharma, and big this, and big that. Never big government. It's destroying it, ripping you off. Once again, it's supply and demand is a law of nature. It's a law of nature. And when the government interferes, screws up the market, this is what you get. Unaffordability, lousy care, can't pick the doctors in hospitals most of the time that you want. I mean, I don't know how many more examples. Canada, Australia, all of Europe. It's like Marxism. Canada, Australia, all of Europe. Islamism with open borders. Canada, Australia, all of Europe. How many more examples, real human examples, do we need? It's not even an experiment anymore. It's as predictable as night and day. So the Democrats, many of you have employee health care, right, Mr. Producer? We do. Employer, I should say, insurance program. They want to eliminate them. They want to drag them into Obamacare. So you pay into Obamacare. That's what they want to do. That's the end game. You're going to start hearing them saying, we need universal health care. And you'll recall in that Democrat debate, in 2020, I guess, the Democrat, whether they think we should have illegal aliens on health care, they all raise their hands. Whether they think we should have Medicare for all, they all raise their hands. So all these programs, Medicare would actually go. You know, Louis Gohmert's a good guy. Texts me from now and then, and he said, don't forget, Mark, to create Obamacare, they took $700 billion out of Medicare, which is right. And don't forget, America, they told you your premiums were going to go down $2,500. That's never happened. It's never going to happen. They just lie, just like they lie about what's happening to the government right now. Now, food stamps are set to stop on November 1st for 40 million Americans. I have a question. Why are 40 million Americans on food stamps? That's another program that has been grossly expanded and has massive fraud and waste. But putting that aside for the moment, although don't forget it because it's true, if 5 Democrat senators would vote with the Republican senators, nobody would lose their food stamps. The military would be paid. The TSA would be paid. The FAA would be paid. Everybody would be paid. The Republicans in the House passed a continuing resolution to pay everybody at the current rate and to keep the programs that they voted on. The Democrats are trying to put all the crap back, all the slop back in. They're trying to get their illegal alien constituents paid. I mean, after all, they brought them to the country just as they don't want to deport them, and so they have their militia in the streets physically attacking ICE. That's what's going on. And so they see this as an opportunity. How far are they going to take it? How far are they going to go with this? Well, the Republicans ought not buckle. Period. Republicans should stand firm. It turns out the polling is doing just fine for them. Not that this is about politics, but for the Democrats, it's always politics. It's always power. That's why I wrote the book on power. Always power. Always grabbing as much power as they can. That's where they come from. And you got to know it in order to try and prevent it. You got to know it in order to try and prevent it. Now, John Thune said this afternoon that he thinks we're closer to resolving this. I don't know what that means. Thune's been really great, but I don't know what that means, closer to resolving this. It better not mean that the Democrats get anything that they want, because it's out of control. And if you want more of this, you capitulate to it. This is unprecedented what they're doing with a continuing resolution. They're blackmailing the Republicans. They're blackmailing the country. They're blackmailing all these employees. And they're saying, even though we don't have a majority, we'll say you control the Senate, even though we know you don't, because you need 60 votes to get anything passed, and you only have 53 Republicans. But we don't like what you passed with the Big Better bill. We don't like the fact that illegal aliens aren't getting health care. We don't like the fact that able-bodied Americans aren't getting Medicaid because they won't work or volunteer for 20 hours a week. We don't like the fact that PBS and NPR aren't getting all the money that they used to get. We don't like the fact that all these freak shows, phonies and frauds, who we used to subsidize, aren't getting the subsidies that we created. $1.5 trillion worth of all this. We don't like it. So we're going to blackmail you, and then we're going to blame you for what we've done. That's what we're going to do. Think it'll work? It's not working so far. It's not working so far. It's so bad what they're doing that even Jake Tapper took on Representative Melanie Stansberger, Democrat, New Mexico. And we'll play this when we come back. All you got to do, he says, is vote to open the government, quote unquote. She doesn't like that very much.
Mark Levin.
The Great One makes your weekend even better. This is the best of Mark Levin.
You know, information is an important thing. Knowledge is an important thing. So it's important to have both. A little bit of experience doesn't hurt before commenting on certain things that you may not know a whole lot about. First of all, Israel of course, doesn't control President Trump, nor has it ever controlled any past president. Israel is not ethnic cleansing. That would be the motivations and intentions of the Islamist terrorists, who do so brazenly throughout the Middle East and Africa, slaughtering black Christians, all Christians, slaughtering Jews, slaughtering anybody who gets in their way, from Syria to Yemen, Lebanon. There aren't a whole lot of Jews or Christians left in the Arab countries or Muslim countries, are there? Why? In fact, there aren't a lot of Christians left in Bethlehem. Why is that? Black Christians are being slaughtered. Nigeria, the Congo, other places in Africa, enslaved by Muslim marauders. We hear nothing about that. Zero. Not the Jews doing it. Not the Jews who attacked us on 9/11 or 1993. The Israelis. Ethnic cleansing. Is that what we were doing when we hit Japan with 2 atomic bombs? No, we were trying to win a war. Dresden, Berlin. The multiple and unprecedented steps the IDF has taken to try and limit casualties at the cost of their own lives and increasing the longevity of the war in Gaza is no secret. Experts from all walks of life have explained it, but the Hamas lies and propaganda seem to overwhelm it. Israel is a multi-ethnic, multi-religious society and a democracy, the only democracy in the Middle East. How many Christians and Jews remain in these non-democracies? Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Jordan. The Coptic Christians in Egypt are brutalized. Iraq. I mean, for God's sakes, Bethlehem was the birthplace of Jesus Christ. It's now 85% Palestinian. You don't hear a word about this. And whatever Jews and Christians are left in any of these countries, they are brutalized. One exception is maybe Lebanon. Used to have a very solid democracy, Christian and Muslim, until Iran, Hezbollah, Muslim Brotherhood destroyed it. Destroyed it. But it looks like Lebanon has a chance, after many decades, of reestablishing its democracy. Why? Because Israel crushed Hezbollah. That's why, and defeated Iran in 12 days. That's why. So the Christians, they used to get elected, prime minister there and so forth, may get elected again. Which army was it that went into Syria to protect the Christian community there that was being slaughtered, with pastors being dragged out of their churches? It was Israel. Israel has Christians who fight for their country, Muslims who fight for their country. Oh, and this one, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Israel does not need pressure from the United States to protect the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which it has been protecting since its very inception. In fact, it protects the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which was purposely built on the holiest Jewish site. It protects that. It protects all the holy sites, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, all of them. All of them. Church of the Holy Sepulchre has always been protected by the Israelis. It was the Jordanians when they took over the area. They were the threat. Now, these are basic facts. These are basic facts. That are not being taught to our college students, apparently. Not being taught to adults, apparently. Not being taught to politicians, apparently. These are basic facts. You know, this guy, Tommy Robinson, who gets attacked a lot, this guy's unbelievable. He's been in Israel for many weeks now. He's British. He's a nationalist. He believes in Britain first. He's been smeared. He's been thrown in jail by that government. But he says the grave threat to the West are these radical Islamists. They're destroying Britain. They've destroyed London. He says not the Jews, the Islamists. He says, I'm going to go to Israel. I'm going to meet with Netanyahu. I'm going to meet with some of these leaders. I'm going to do interviews. I'm going to find out what the hell's going on over there. And he's been posting these interviews. Our media don't do this. Our media don't do it. We got podcasters galore, spewing hate and filth. The only country in the Middle East where Christians are safe is Israel. And he does this fantastic interview he did the other day, and I just posted it, of a leading Christian podcaster, influencer, faith promoter, who talks about we're a minority in Israel. About 180,000 of us. If we were in any of these Arab or Muslim countries, we likely wouldn't exist. We join the IDF. We can do any job we want. We can go anywhere we want. They can become judges. They can become whatever they want. So can Arabs, by the way. These are Christian Arabs in the most case, but so can Muslim Arabs. Why aren't these stories being told by our podcasters? Why aren't they interviewing people like this? Why don't our think tanks talk about this? If they want to talk about Israel, they're obsessed with it. I have to spend so much time unraveling all this stuff. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. You think I want to? People say, well, aren't we allowed to disagree with Israel? Of course we're allowed to disagree with Israel. There are political parties that fight each other and disagree with each other in Israel. There are many people in the media in Israel who disagree with the government of Israel. They have a Knesset where they duke it out like a parliament. So that's not the debate. That's not the issue. The issue is the survivability of that country as a tiny little safe haven, the Holy Land. The Holy Land, where so many of us have our faiths born. We have nothing in common with Qatar that spends billions of dollars trying to destroy our country and the biggest funder of terrorism. Nothing. We have nothing in common with Saudi Arabia, another bunch of inbreds, a concocted country less than 100 years ago that was behind 9/11, as well as Qatar. We have nothing in common with these countries except oil, money. It's okay. We can have allies in the Middle East who aren't Christian or Jewish. We can have allies in the Far East who are Buddhist. We can have allies in India who are Hindu. It's all well and good. But what is it about this attempt to eviscerate a faith and a people? We're not talking about, well, you can disagree with Israel. And so when you literally defend your own existence, your own faith, you're demeaned and you're attacked. I'll give you an example, one that doesn't involve Israel or Jews or anything. Are you Catholic? Many of you are Catholic. It's a beautiful religion. It's a beautiful faith. You have a pope, especially the prior pope, very left-wing. People criticize that pope. I said almost nothing about that pope, did I, Mr. Producer? I didn't think it was appropriate. But people, they'll criticize that pope, criticize the things he said and the things he tried to do. He's quite liberal. That's okay. But that doesn't mean you trash Catholics. That doesn't mean you attack their faith. That doesn't mean you find conspiracies. That doesn't mean you platform individuals who are anti-Catholic. You know, that's been going on a long time. The Ku Klux Klan went after Catholics just as it went after Jews and blacks. People forget this. I don't forget anything. I know my history. There's no way in hell that I would ever, in my worst nightmare, platform somebody who starts trashing Catholics as having an undue influence on our country. Even if I were to say something in which I disagree with a declaration from the Pope. That's not open to debate and discussion. You don't come on this show, and I certainly don't invite somebody on my show who I know is trashing Catholics, who I know is anti-Catholic, or I'm not going to platform somebody who I know is a racist who's going to come on this show and attack black people left and right. You don't have a discussion with people like that. I certainly wouldn't give them this airwave to be heard by millions and millions of people. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about base hatred. When somebody says that when the Jews were put in the ovens, it's like baking cookies. When somebody says that Hitler should have finished the job. When somebody says that I'm an admirer of Stalin. And on, how much worse can it get? When somebody trashes Christian Zionists, who are simply Christians who believe in Israel, in the state of Israel, not disagree with them, say they despise them. They despise them more than anybody else. That's a bigot. That's a bigot. And you know what? It takes people of real courage. These days, I'm afraid so. Shouldn't. 20 years ago it wouldn't, but today it does. It takes people of real courage to speak out against this. To speak out against it. And these are the people who should be getting awards for courage. And should be acknowledged and promoted. I want to give a special salute out to National Review, their fantastic editorial today, to Rod Dreyer, his fantastic column in Substack. Isn't that what it's called, Rich? I know Rod doesn't always like me. It's not about liking me. It doesn't matter. And Josh Hammer, who's under vicious assault for people twisting his words, and there are many others out there. There are tens of millions of us behind you who love Judaism, love Christianity, love our country, love Judeo-Christian values on which this country was based, and we will continue to promote it. We will continue to denounce those who seek to destroy it.
Mark Levin.
We're giving you nothing but the best of Mark Levin.
Capitalism and socialism. Would you rather go to a food market in America or a food market anywhere in socialist Europe? We've talked about this. Professor George Reisman, written a great book, big book, called Capitalism. There have been other great men and women who've written about it. Ayn Rand, Hayek, von Mises, Milton Friedman. You know, these are old people. They're dead and gone. You may not want to read about them. A lot of great men and women are dead and gone, on whose shoulders we stand. That's why we have books. That's why we have history, knowledge. One generation learning from the next. The world didn't begin today with Nick Fuentes. little Adolf. The world didn't begin today with Tucker Carlson and his platform of Holocaust deniers and attacking Christian Zionists and people of the Jewish faith. The world didn't begin today with Candace Owens. I guess we should debate her too, Mr. Producer. Whether or not the First Lady of France was born with a penis. I think we can do a little better than that, America. And everybody is not worth debating, and everybody's not worth platforming. Neo-Nazis, Klansmen, racists, bigots. These aren't policy disputes. These aren't white paper issues. These aren't debates about principle. Now we have Mamdani, who's never had a private sector job in his life. We have Sanders, who's never had a private sector job in his life. We have an AOC who could never pour a drink straight. We have a whole bunch of people who know how to run our lives, who know how to run the country, who know how to run every single industry, who know how to be the employer and the employee, who know about the supply chain, who know about technological advances, experts in mathematics and physics, who understand profit and loss. They understand all the complexities of an economy, and they think they should run it through their ideology. This is the biggest problem with socialism. Ideologues create impoverishment, destitution, hunger, shortages, because it's not possible for them to know what the hell they're doing. Just because somebody's elected to office or seizes office, they're not all of a sudden smarter than every other human being that's ever existed and know how to run every industry. So they don't know how to run every industry. So they are driven by their ideology. That's what they rely on. And what does their ideology tell them? More government, more regulations, more taxation, redistribution of wealth. Well, that's not an economic policy. That's a governmental policy. That's iron-fisted police state government. What else happens? Well, things like your Bill of Rights disappear. Why? What happened during the pandemic? It's as if the Bill of Rights never existed. You were ordered to wear masks. You were ordered to stay 6 feet apart. You were ordered not to come out of your house. You were ordered not to go to a public place, not to go to a beach. You were ordered to shut down your businesses. You were ordered over and over and over again. Where you basically had pseudoscience promoted by bureaucrats and politicians that did grave damage to this country, did grave damage to the children of this country and their education. You had decision makers like teachers' unions. Teachers' unions, among others. You can't possibly deal adequately, let alone well, in a society, in an economy as big and complex as ours, or any really, if you're driven by ideology. Now let's talk about this Marxist ideology. See, I don't even call it a philosophy. Because in my vernacular, there's a difference between an ideology and a philosophy. A philosophy is a well thought out position about many things: ethics, morality, faith, the economy, so forth and so on. Ideology is not well thought out at all. It's my way or the highway. Ideology has the iron fist behind it. Philosophy does not. Philosophy is more theoretical. Ideology is more political. Just my own view, my own way of addressing both. Capitalism is not an ideology. It's not a philosophy. It's a reality. It's how humans interact. Centralized government in the imposition of regulations and taxes and rules by people who know nothing and can't possibly know everything is the exercise of raw power through government, through the law, through denying civil liberties, property rights, free will. The fundamental difference between economic socialism and capitalism. Marxism embraces not only socialism, but it takes it a big step further. The entirety of society must be rejiggered to accommodate the ideology. In fact, the human being must be made to fit into the ideology, which of course is an impossibility while there's so much slaughter and so many concentration camps in these communist societies. Not so with a constitutional republican capitalism. There is no single right way. If you want to be a moron and invest your money in something stupid, go for it. If you want to lose all your money, do it. If you want to take a risk, you think you got a great idea, do it. You could become a billionaire. You could employ tens of thousands of people, save tens of thousands of lives. That's a good thing. No wonder communist China has to steal our technology, has to steal our science. No wonder the vast majority of countries in the world that don't practice capitalism, that aren't republics or democracies, are dirt poor. Poor. Where the people have almost no liberties. Where they struggle every day to feed themselves. To scratch out a meal for their family. Look around you, America. Look around you, New York City. Those of you who are even giving a second's thought to voting for this Marxist Islamist. I'm not even getting into the Islamist terrorist part. I'm just focused right now on the Marxist part. What basically Mamdani is calling for is a massive welfare state in the city. Through taxation and regulation, through the expropriation of private property. What is private property? Private property is the manifestation of your work, your physical work, the work of your brain, your intellectual work. Private property is the manifestation of a big percentage of time you spend on this earth to acquire something that belongs to you and your family. That's not to be molested. It's yours. You earned it. Private property is among the most important human needs and desires that exist. People will fight to the death to protect their homes, to protect their property. They'll hire lawyers to stop somebody else from encroaching on their property. That's mine. Is it because you're selfish? You're a capitalist pig? No, it's because you spent what limited time you have on earth to create the circumstances to acquire that property. And you will protect it. You will nurture it. You'll put it to the best use if you choose to. When you redistribute property, whether it's real property or products or something like that, or money that somebody else has earned, you basically zap the initiative, the motivation of the individual who creates it, and you create slovenliness and laziness by the people you give it to, who didn't earn it, who did nothing for it but vote for you. This word affordability, that's their newest word. They always have some trigger word, some slogan. The city's unaffordable. Well, why is New York unaffordable? Some of the highest taxes in the world. Property taxes, income taxes, sales taxes. That resonates throughout an economy. Drives up the cost of everything. You've got rent control for people who are wealthy. Well, what does that do? That limits the amount of housing there is, apartments or condos or whatever you want to call them. Because people aren't going to build affordable housing for the plumbers, for the electricians, for the painters, the bricklayers, the construction workers, the roofers, whatever you want to call. They're not going to do that because they can't make enough money out of that. So they'll build multi-million-dollar townhouses, massive condominium complexes, and so forth and so on, multi-million-dollar penthouses. But they're not going to build, for the most part, the rancher or the duplex or the townhouse. It's not worth it. The zoning, the cost of the land, it's not worth it. So the very government that drives up these costs then says, we're going to fix it. How are you going to fix it? You need to surrender more of your liberty, more of your success, more of your earnings to the government. So rather than just having a typical and bad left-wing government, a de Blasio-type government, whatever, now we're going to go all in, you see. And Mamdani has said, there shouldn't be a private housing market. We should be like Vienna, where 60% of the homes are owned by the government, and then the government lets people live in them. Now, what happens with that? We've done that before. It's called low-income housing, skyscrapers, where people are treated like what? Like numbers. Like sardines in a can. There's no upkeep. There's cockroaches, there's rats, there's crime, there's drugs. There's gangs. They take them over. They fill the void. We've seen this. Then we had a period of time, the late years of the Reagan administration and beyond, where these buildings were being dynamited, blown up because the experiment failed. But now here comes Mamdani. He's got a new idea. It's the same idea as before. When somebody owns a property, puts their own sweat and toil into it, raises enough money to put a down payment on a mortgage, they take care of their property. It's their property. When somebody gives it to somebody else, the government, they don't care about the upkeep. Easy come, easy go. They don't care. And so new housing is not built. Government housing is not kept up. At the same time, you're going to eviscerate the NYPD. So people will not be secure in these government housing projects. When they call the cops won't come because there are not enough of them. And what are they going to do anyway with the Soros prosecutors? The gangs get more powerful. The homeless take up hallway space and defecate and urinate in the hallways. This is what's coming. Drug sales. And then he says he favors prostitution. I have millions and millions of listeners, and many of you are in New York. Socialism and affordability are words that do not mix. It's like oil and water.